Ride Podcast. I'm your host here, Starks. You can find me on my Twitter handle. It's at Starks_industry. You can also find me on Instagram, One Closing Hero. We took some days off here. Particularly, actually, I did. I know the gentleman on my sides here did as well. This episode, going to give you guys a little bit of light. Obviously, we're going to go over the streaming and waiver wire options for the week 8 that Jacob puts together on our website, thenewlifefantasy.com. Make sure you guys join the mailing list. Join as a subscriber. Check out the articles that we're pumping out on a high volume pace. Not only that, we have our YouTube channel up, so go ahead and check that out. Subscribe, that Sub-Zero, that button there, and then hit that bell. Comment below. Give us a thumbs up. It helps us out. The Take a Ride podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe to that. It helps us to give you guys content more consistently. So before we get to some of that in particular, I wanted to also say we're working on articles that are coming up around the Christmas holidays, because not only is it Sunday, we're giving God the glory, but we also want to share the faith with the Christmas articles that we're going to bring up. One of the articles that LT the Sage is going to do is Sage Eyes, but you might not have any eyes because we haven't seen that article. It's supposed to come out it's probably supposed to come out weeks ago, but it seems like you might not even get it for Christmas. But hey, be on the lookout for that. Dynasty Fighter is an article that I'm reviving, something that I made last year that you guys will come accustomed to. You'll see about that. And then Jacob is going to work on Silent Night with the K. So be interested and actually be focused on what's going to happen there. So with that said, I'm not here alone this evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you may be in the fantasy world. I have the combo guard running the two, Jacob, the White Knight. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing well, brother. I'm a little nervous. I got 3 fantasy football teams in the playoffs. Two, I was able to get a bye week, but one, I'm sweating over here because Mike Evans left early. So we'll see what happens. But I'm just hoping for the best. But I'm ready to talk about basketball now for sure.
Yeah, I don't think you made any. Was you in the playoffs in any of my leagues? I don't think you were.
What's crazy is that no. I'm in 5 fantasy football leagues, and your 2 leagues I didn't make it. I just missed. So yeah, I'm a little bit salty about that. Yeah. I snuck in there in the last game, and honestly, this playoff game this week is a tough one. It's against my pops. Actually, my dad is. He's a legend when it comes to fantasy football, cool. Honestly. So he might bust me up, but it's interesting. So not only him, but we have the 3-man running the wing, LT the Sage. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good. Ready to go over some of these streaming options and look at all the hard work that my man White Knight puts in his articles to give me some inspiration for my article, Stark, since we want to make sure we try to get that out for the listeners. So yeah, over to you, man.
Yeah, and you didn't make the fantasy football playoffs either, did you?
I'm pretty sure I did not. I looked at my team earlier and it doesn't look like it.
Those 16 leagues, man, it's tough.
Yeah, the football season was really tough in fantasy football, man, this year for sure.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you guys, I'm ready to take people on for a ride. I'll pass you the ball, Jacob, on some recent news there, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I wanted to start it off with the infamous David Fizdale, the New York Knicks former head coach. Of course, he has been fired after a 21-83 start. They finally just cut the cord on him. So Starks, I'm going to lob an alley over to you and look for you to oop it. What do you see or hope changes in New York after all of this?
Hopefully they stop dancing and just go ahead and start Mitch Robinson. Stop dancing and doing that. Go ahead and give Dennis Smith Jr. some more time. Honestly, DSJ is still a fantasy bust. I'm going to also say there was a listener. There's actually 2 listeners I want to give shout outs. So I don't remember your names. I do apologize. But one of them had gave us some ideas that I think it's popular, or not even, it's popular to me and us in particular, is I think I'm going to call myself on maybe a technical foul, because as a bust player, I think DSJ is essentially a bust. But now with the coach being fired, I definitely would like to see that. Hopefully he has a better career in anything that he does, the best for wherever you do. But as the NBA coach, or at least for the Knicks, you was just playing around with the time for these players, man. And DSJ was one of them. But anyways, getting back to Mitch Robinson in particular, I think he needs a start, right? I think it's only fair to the fantasy community because those that paid a high premium, I mean, it wasn't me paying the end of first round, second, early round pick on him. But we ought to see him turn and change the corner, in particular, New York. Well, I mean, hopefully it wasn't just the coach, or we were hoping it was just the coach. Could the owner be hurting the team too? Is that something we have to think about? Because once this coach that takes over, we don't typically know for sure if this guy's going to have some similarities to Fizdale, because that can go up higher into the ownership. So I really hope New York utilizes the players that they're supposed to. But I'll pass you the ball, LT, with your thoughts, man.
Yeah, man, I don't got much to say. You guys covered pretty much all of it. Mitch Robinson is the main player that comes to mind when you're talking about Fizdale going. Why is he coming off the bench to Todd? I mean, it's not like there's another young guy on that team. It was to Taj Gibson. We know what Taj Mahal can give you on a night-to-night basis. We know who he is. We don't know. I mean, we have an idea of Mitch Robinson, but the upside is there. And the fact that he wasn't playing him big minutes, especially after he came back and was healthy, shows exactly why he probably got cut, because the team, if you look at the roster, they should be winning more games than they are. So, I mean, they're 4-19. Fifth in the Atlantic, and it's just that's the main thing you think about. Everybody else is pretty much except for the point guard carousel. And I'm going to pass the rock over to you, White Knight. Do you think this changes anything for Alfred Payton, Starks' guy DSJ, or do you think Frank, Alphabet Soup is going to be the guy still at point guard?
Frank Ntilikina, huh?
Yeah, there you go.
I love saying that name ever since Starks educated us on that. But you know what? If the Knicks really do want to contend, I really think they should start Alfred Payton, just because he is a pass guy. He is a pass first point guard. So I can definitely see the assistant coach starting him, and then absolutely, like you said, starts giving DSJ there some more minutes, just because he's such a freak. He is an athletic freak who can stretch the floor. I mean, he is a score first. So if he can come off with the second unit, I think the Knicks can actually have a solid team if the rotation doesn't get toyed around with. And one more fact for you guys about the Knicks: they are heading to their seventh straight season without making the playoffs, or even with one playoff series win since 2001. So that organization has been cherry picking for a while, that's for sure. So moving on, we're going to talk about Rodney Hood. Unfortunately, he suffered a torn left Achilles. That cannot feel good. So he is out for the season, needless to say. A huge blow, just because he usually always showed up on my streaming list, just because he was always bankable for those points, rebounds, and assists, and some stock stats. Now there's going to be some minutes to go around there, and I'm going to pass the ball. I'm going to bounce past the ball there to you, T. Yeah. Watch out for that one. It's coming in hot, just because you're the Blazers guy. So I want to know who picks up those minutes and who can we look for in a shallow or a deep league.
Yeah. Just a shout out to Rodney. We will Rip City love, man. Get healthy soon. We love what you brought to the team, and you were doing great too. It sucks for us, and for you specifically, but you'll come back stronger and better than ever. To be honest, couple of notes. Probably looking at, to be honest, Kit Bazemore and Nazir Little are the two names that stick out right now. And I'm pulling for Nazir Little to actually get the start there, because this will, exactly to your point, unfortunately have to be because of Hood's injury, but that will develop Nazir a little bit, right? Even with Carmelo on the team, that still will give him some time, some development, especially for him being in that range of a 3-and-D guy. So we are hopefully Hopefully he'll get the start. But knowing my team, they're probably going to start Kent Bazemore, or somehow Tolliver will show his somewhere in there. Listen, I have a feeling. Anyways, I wanted to just touch on one player though. Skal Labissière has been playing pretty well for them. And he's a name to actually keep an eye on if he's able to produce and keep producing at a steady pace, and maybe his minutes actually go up from this. Kind of a weird exchange, because Hood and him don't play the same position, but he's been playing better, and they may give him a little bit more run now, since there's more minutes to go around. So keep an eye on Skal. But other than that, the two names for me is Nasir Little and Kent Bazemore for sure, kind of jumping in there and catching more minutes. What do you think, Starks?
Yeah, I think you touched up on pretty much everything in particular. So especially Bazemore, that is. I think he was already inserted after Rodney Hood got hurt. So they was utilizing him in replacement of him. But honestly, I'm agreeing with you, surprisingly, again, that they're going to utilize a lot of the Blazers from the bench. And I know you mentioned Nasir Little. I can also see Simons, too, to get a little bit more minutes. And then obviously, like you just kind of said, Skal Labissière, right? So he could be one of those. So he's one of the guys that could be, particular. But I think Kent Bazemore is the guy. I'll say this real quick to go on the ice. So I know there was a few people out there, including listeners, that just felt like, well, Bazemore, if he gets the playing time, like, is he really that good? I'll just say like this, he's okay, but he's worth an option, right? I mean, if they're going to give them the minutes, as Jacob highlights on, especially in minutes, then you got to pick him up. If you're in the 12 to 14 man league, you're not going to rush out and pick him up in an 8 and 10 man league. He's even borderline on a 12. If it doesn't work out, just pitch him. And, that's all I got, but I'll pass you the ball there, Jacob.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with all of the sentiments. I was waiting for the ball to be passed to me because I didn't hear Simon's name, but you brought him up, and I do see him picking up the scoring. So next news I want to bring up is Marvin Bagley III. Now, he is listed as day-to-day. He should be returning any day now. We don't know exactly, but I know as a Marvin Bagley owner in a few leagues, I am beyond excited for this return. And I wanted to pass the ball there to you there, Starks. I have a question. Is Nemanja Bjelica, is that his name?
Nemanja Bjelica.
Bjelica. Is he a straight drop once he comes back, or is it like a wait and see approach to see what goes down? What do you think there, Starks?
So if it's one of those, say for instance, hypothetically, you just need to stream that option for temporarily, then I would just hold on to him. But I can see him being cut bait a little bit further down the road. But if you have to make a speculative ad, you would drop him, I think, at this point in time.
Absolutely. I'm going to dish the rock to you there, LT. Do you see anyone else being affected by Bagley's return?
The only person I could think of is Barnes. Barnes actually has been doing pretty good, especially on some games. But I think those shots will cascade probably a little bit more from him and a little bit more towards Bagley, to be honest with you. Bagley for sure. So that's the only thing I see. I think Buddy Hield, Holmes on Holmes. I think these guys are still going to get their fill. I think it's just some of the kind of the questionable starters like Bjelica. Dedmon for sure. Bjelica, he was kind of in there because of the injury. Barnes, he's old, and so Bagley definitely will be taking shots from some of those guys. But the other people, especially when Fox, I think Fox isn't back yet, is he?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. So so he'll definitely take that, and then Fox will jump in and make everything right there in Sacramento world.
Absolutely, definitely. So the next news I want to bring up is Josh Richardson of the Sixers. Now, right when I heard that he had a hamstring strain, I thought this is definitely going to be a 1 to 2 week absence. I think he played a few days later, but then it was like, no, it's not right. just because hamstrings are tricky, like we've said that time and time again. There is no way to know exactly when a player's ready, and a player shouldn't rush back or else it'll get worse. For example, Alfred Payton, he strained his hamstring pretty early in the season, and he's missed the last 3 weeks or so. So it's going to take a bit. I can definitely see him sitting for another week or two. It all depends on how the body heals for sure. But in his absence, we'll talk about a few players that are definitely going to pick up the slack. But I want to chest pass the rock to you there, Starks. What do you think about the situation? Do you think he comes back sooner? Because it seems like he's nearing a return, but we know how tricky those are. So I'm going to pass the ball to you there, Starks. What do you think?
I mean, I don't think they should rush him like you had mentioned. But, I think he's going to be off for just a little bit longer, but even if he comes back closer, that's okay. But one thing I want to say is, who's going to pick up the slack? Obviously, we talk about Korkmaz and then obviously Matisse Thybulle, and I think Thybulle got hurt one of these games here recently. And just to go on another kind of like off subject ISO, remember that guy I kept talking about? What was his name? He played for Philadelphia. He's in the G League, and I think he just got hurt either today or yesterday. He's like Zaire Smith. So, I'm just like, man, it's like, where was Zaire Smith like this whole season? I know he was one of those Dynasty potential darlings, and he's just been in the G League, not doing anything. So, but as far as who's going to be picking up the slack, honestly, it's Korkmaz, and Matisse Thybulle is LT. Let's say Thybulle. But going back to Josh Richardson. I think they need to be patient with him and not rush him. And I'll pass you the ball there, LT.
Yeah, I'm with you too. Definitely going to be more shots spread around to those main cogs in the wheel. Unfortunately, Al Horford is probably going to be taking more shots. I think he already has from when I was looking at some recent games. And of course, our guy Furkan Korkmaz is also going to be the immediate beneficiary because he's filling in those minutes for him. So Thybulle, or should I say Thybulle, was actually getting some decent minutes too the last couple of games since that injury, and so he was the biggest beneficiary. But like you stated, Stark, he recently got hurt. Hopefully he's back quick. And just to cap off, I did want to mention to the White Knight that Benihana Simmons did hit his second three of the season. So I just want to let you know. Two out of the 5.
I'm getting nervous here, man.
Yeah, two out of the 5. He needs 3 more snipes, and we're right where you stated it. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Wait, so is he 100% at the 3-point line this year then?
Well, he has because he has a couple of
he has a couple like half-court shots.
Yeah, heave hoes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's weird because when he's actually attempted an actual 3-pointer, he makes it, and so it just doesn't make any sense.
He is automatic.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
Or does it? Or does it?
It doesn't make any sense. Shoot the 3 more. Look at his smile. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to shoot any threes. I don't want to be the perfect fantasy player. Come on, man.
Right.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness. Ben Simmons, man. Lastly, the last news I want to bring up to you guys is the curious and frustrating case of Kyrie Irving. We were able to get a little bit of light on the situation that he's going to miss at least the next 2 weeks. So at least we know that he definitely won't be on the court for 2 weeks, and then he'll be reevaluated. Something going on with his shoulder, not really sure what it is. I don't even think Kyrie knows what it is. The Nets don't know what it is. But the Nets keep winning without him, but that's another story. But I know that as all you fantasy owners of him, you are missing him terribly, because those stats, as we can see right now, almost 29 points per game, all those assists and boards, it's tough. But right now, it's don't know what to do, because I've been getting a lot of questions with trades involving him, and it seems like it's owners that are panicking and trying to sell low, and it might not it might not be the worst idea to try to sell him. But he didn't show up in your article, Starks, on sell these players like hotcakes. So I'm going to pass the rock to you there. What do you think about the situation? And would you look to trade him? Would you look to buy him if you have like an extra IL spot? What do you think?
So yeah, thanks. So the sell high article was kind of more tailored towards the players that were, not saying that Kyrie wasn't, but tailored to the kind of the, wouldn't say randoms of players that were really overperforming. And I guess it's a give and take type of thing. I could have used Kyrie for sure now that I think about it there, Jacob. But one of the guys that, you probably wasn't a fan of, I was willing to, my article selling your boy there, Dinwiddie, as LT would call him, Dinwiddle, right? So this situation, and I actually, you know what though, Jacob, someone didn't agree with that, and I think that's fine because Dinwiddie is going to have a lot of opportunity, obviously, since Karis LeVert is gone for quite some time, and then Kyrie, you just never know when he's going to come back up. Now, for me, if you guys read the articles to the listeners, I had it 3 breakdowns, so it was like a dynasty, redraft, and points leagues, right? So in a dynasty league, I'm selling him like hotcakes. Mm-hmm. In a redraft and points, I think I had him as a hold. I wouldn't try to sell him because Dinwiddie is the guy that's starting, and then going back to Kyrie, I just don't want to mess with this situation. But if I was a Kyrie owner in particular, if I have an IL spot, yeah, you hold him. But if you don't have an IL spot and you're scraping from the bottom of the barrel, go ahead and reach to the top GM in your league, one of the top producers in your league, and see what you could, sell them for. If you're in panic mode, if you need to get wins, you get wins. I'm not saying sell them for pennies on the dollar. I'm not saying that, but make sure you get value in return. So, that's my thoughts on that. I'll pass you the ball there, LT.
Yeah, this is a subject near and dear to my heart, White Knight. I actually have Kyrie in a lot of leagues. He's actually fell to me. He's fell to me in that second round area. And I was like, I'll pick him up. I didn't expect an injury. So, you never expect an injury. So that's one of those things that it's kind of, you can't really predict. But I have to, in my eyes, I have to hold them because in my draft, I created my team based off of my top 2 picks were point guards. So the rest of my team is formulated for these guys to perform. But it's going to be hard to get the same production out of one guy as I would from 2. But in that situation, if you didn't, if you have other point guards that can jump in there for you in redraft format specifically, take Kyrie, see if you can get at least a decent point guard, someone that's producing at a decent rate, and see if you can't get somebody else to help you on the back end. A name that comes to mind to me is maybe Terry Rozier. Maybe you can get a Terry Rozier owner to do that now in only in redraft formats, but in Dynasty, no one's going to do that, right? But maybe in redraft formats, someone may do that with the option of Kyrie coming back. At least you get some production for a couple weeks, and then when Kyrie comes back, he'll more than likely be outproducing Terry Rozier. But I'm worried about Kyrie in the long run, right, guys? That's what I'm worried about right now as an owner of him, because even if he does come back, based on their how well they're doing with, they're 12-10. So depending on how well they're doing, is he going to play the rest of the season? I don't know. I really don't know. And they're winning without him. So they're playing better. They're doing better without him. I'm just worried that type of stuff worries me, because then weird stuff can start happening where Dinwiddie ends up with, you start seeing the minutes higher for Dinwiddie rather than Kyrie, just based on that. So I'm not too sure, but definitely something to keep an eye on. I am a hold as far as your question, but I am worried. I am definitely worried.
Absolutely, brothers. Hey, man, those were some swish takes from you guys there. Thank you so much for that. So with that is all of our news for today. So I'm going to pass the rock there to you, Starks. What do you got next for us, brother?
Yeah, before we get to the streaming options, I just want to talk about one more thing. LT actually tweeted about it. is the rumors of Kevin Love potentially, Cleveland's opening up the gates on willing to trade him. And I'm going to take a page out of the listener that recommend me to say this. I'm going to go ahead and do it for the listener. I'm going to take a half-court shot. And this half-court shot, what that's going to consist of is a speculative ad. I know we talked about Porter, but honestly, I can't take that half-court shot yet. But if I had to, it would be the Porter guy from Cleveland to be a speculative ad if Kevin Love leaves. But here's the kicker, though. It can come in reverse and basically hit me hard, because the thing is, even if he gets traded, and I know LT tweeted about it, and LT had mentioned the players that would gain value, but we have to also think and put this in a mindset of maybe who do they get back in return, right? Because if they get a good young talent in return, maybe that player gets the time over Porter. True. So that's something I wanted to definitely get out there. But I'll pass you the ball. Actually, I'll give you around the back pass there, LT. And what's your thoughts on this whole situation there, brother?
No, you're right. That is something that I didn't take into consideration, who they get back, right? So that's one of those things where it's hard, because you want to be ahead of the curve on these trade things. You want to make sure you got those players ready to go, but you really don't know what the fantasy implications are going to be until they start actually throwing names around. So I that's a good question. The other thing is that Larry Nance is also, if Kevin Love gets booted out, Larry Nance takes a big bump. Yeah. I would imagine also in minutes and production and everything else. That's someone else to take to keep an eye on. In Dynasty, definitely Kevin Porter for sure. I would almost take that half-court shot in a Dynasty format, just on the because even if Love doesn't go this year, you would imagine he's gone by next year, right? Right. So when his contract. So yeah, that's my take on it. White Knight, what do you think, man?
I got a speculative, just a random. I just have a hot take on what could happen, guys, and I want to see what you guys think. Okay. One of the teams that is interested is the Denver Nuggets. They've been serious about contending for years now, but they never pull a trigger on a superstar. They have so much depth. I can definitely see them unloading a few of their young prospects, and some that come to mind is Michael Porter Jr. and Bol. Monte Morris comes up for me too. Just like players that the Nuggets don't need, but could offer to get the deal done. Now, if Michael Porter Jr. or Bol, personally, I don't know about Bol. He's definitely a speculative deep league pickup if that happens. But Michael Porter Jr., he becomes extremely interesting if that happens to me. Now, I'm going to pass the rock to you there, Starks, as the Dynasty expert. What do you think of that take? And do you think that's realistic? Do you think it's just a pipe dream? What do you think?
I think it's a mix of both. Do I think it's a pipe dream? Yeah, potentially. But do I think it makes sense too? Yeah, because honestly, in the NBA, you just never know. Like I said in a lot of podcast episodes before, it's like you hear all these rumors of a player going to a certain team. We could talk about like Chris Paul, for instance. Oh, Chris Paul, Miami Heat, Chris Paul, Miami Heat, Chris Paul. He might mess around and go to Milwaukee now, right? Or now there's reports even being talked about him going to Milwaukee. And I don't know if you guys seen the commercial, but there was I don't know if you guys, this is the State Farm commercial, and it has that guy off The Office, him and Chris Paul talking, and then the guy, there's a buck in the background messing up a car, and the guy was like, wait, he said, Chris, you don't play for the Bucks. And he just like looked and like smiles like, no, I don't. So I mean, hey, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen either, right? But like subliminal messages can come out of anywhere.
Yeah, so that's sweet. I like that.
Yeah. And even if that subliminal message is not true, it makes you think, right? But he might even go to a different team. So is it a pipe dream? I could say, like I said, I think it is, but it probably isn't either. But I'll say it like this. I think that's interesting because if you put both Porters in Cleveland and then have Bobo, I would actually love that, honestly, in a dynasty format, because Bobo, he needs I don't know how he slipped to Denver like that. He's a talent, that needs to get opportunity somewhere, right? It's going to be hard to crack those minutes in Denver with all of those players, because if Kevin Love, I guess now I'm starting to think your way here, Jacob, because if Kevin Love goes over there, then you could just basically I'm not going to say get rid of Millsap, but him playing with Joker makes sense, right? A 4 and a 5 if you want to play that game a little bit. So that's an interesting take. I'll pass you the ball, LT. What's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. I didn't think the most interesting thing about what you said, Starks, is that State Farm commercial. I've said that a couple of times. I've seen that a couple of times, and man, you're right, man. The signs are there. I think you've cracked the code, man, for sure. But yeah, I definitely can see Michael Porter Jr. Now, the one thing I will say, and then I'll switch it back over to White Knight. Michael Porter Jr., just the old Porter duo tandem. That could be something that Cleveland could really be interested in. Bobo as the center of the future, because we all know that. Triscuits and biscuits. We already know that contract was LeBron, full of LeBron, right? But he got Tristan his money. So, I know Cleveland wants to unload that contract as quick as possible now that LeBron's gone. But yeah, that's just, I like it. Now, whether it happens or not, I kind of am biased because I do want a Blazers Portland love connection. Love CJ, Melo, and Lillard. That would be the dream situation for me. But I just don't know how logistically that works. But that is something to think about because they definitely would want Whiteside. But yeah, I'm going to pass it back to you, White Knight, and that's very interesting. Maybe you've cracked the code as well.
Hey, I'm saying if the Blazers somehow pull it off, you could say goodbye to Simons and Nasir Little for sure. They would have to be part of the deal, right? I'm sure you would take it though, right? As a Blazers fan?
Well, I don't think we would. To be honest, I don't. Most people do not want to. Like most fans, when they've talked about those trades, there's a couple trades. The main trade that everyone wants is us getting Jay Crowder. Yeah, which is weird. Jay Crowder to help out, I guess. But we don't want to give up all of our future for Kevin just for a couple of years with Kevin Love, right? So we're a little worried about that, but I like that Nuggets trade a lot, man.
Right on. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be exciting, and definitely that we advise all of you listeners to keep tabs on and keep your eyes open and keep all those players that could be affected on your watch list for sure. So I'm going to pass the rock to you there, Starks. Do you have any more comments before we transition?
No, but actually I got a question for LT. What's the time looking like, Keeper? How many minutes in were we?
We got 32.
Perfect. All right. So we're going to get into the streaming options, waiver wire options for the week 8 on newlifefantasy.com. Jacob puts a lot of hard work into this, guys. And let me go on this guy that had reached out. I appreciate to this listener. I think someone had said they copied your work, Jacob. I hope that is not the case. But if he did, God bless you, man, and I hope that wasn't the case. I don't think you have, because from what I remember doing a little bit more research, I think this guy was doing similar stuff to what you're doing here about a year or two, Jacob. So, but I appreciate the listener that was backing you, like us, up hardcore. Unfortunately, a lot of people wasn't fans of the guy, but just know that I'm shouting you out, and I appreciate you for, getting our back. Either way, it's just love that we want to spread anyways. But you check that out on New Life. Since we're on the YouTube channel, you can see it as we're kind of breaking it down. So I have the clip art there with the games that Jacob and the hard work he puts in. So guys, definitely check that out on newlifefantasy.com for the waiver and streamers for week 8. So Jacob, I am going to basically do a Jason Williams elbow pass all-star game style and give you the ball.
All right.
and ask you, what players would you recommend for the week for the listeners there, brother?
Ready, brother. That was a sick pass, man. Jason Williams, man, that guy was a G for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
So stop this record if you've already heard it, but my top streamer this week is Corey Joseph. I know he's having back issues right now, but he was supposed to miss last night with a back issue, but he played 38 minutes. So I'm not sure how serious that issue is, but I can see him definitely missing tonight's game, but he still has 4 games on tap for this week. So keep your eye out if you do want to stream him for those low end point guard numbers. I mean, he's getting 35 to 40 minutes a game as the only starting point guard left standing there. So you definitely love him as a streamer. So this week he goes against the Rockets, the Thunder, the Knicks, and the Warriors. All beatable teams, all teams that he could definitely produce solid stats for you. And he's available in so many leagues, as you can see on that list. So he would be my number one streamer, especially if you need some point guard stats. Next is Duncan Robinson. He keeps hitting trays and he won't stop. And the Heat need him this week to hit those trays. Now, they might not need him for his first game. He plays the Hawks, but the next 2 games after that, he plays the Lakers, and then he plays the Mavericks. They're going to need his threes to stay in those games. So look for him to get a lot of volume this week. Next, I love that Chris Dunn is this high on my list, but I couldn't keep him down on my list for too long because he has 4 games this week, but more importantly, he's starting. And the coach loves him, and he's getting minutes. And we already know he gets you those steals. He is a bankable, at least 1 steal a game, mostly 2 to sometimes 3. I mean, like, he is a steals machine. But now that he's starting, he can fall into other stats like those blocks. He can fall into the points. He can fall into a 3 or 2. He can fall into those assists. So I would definitely look to start Chris Dunn. If you're not starting him all week, definitely look for those matchups that you need on just going forward in your week. Next is Stark's favorite guy here, Shirley Garrett Temple. It's hard to ignore. I know you admitted that earlier, Starks. It's hard to ignore his minutes. He's getting 35 to 40 minutes a game. And he's getting you 3-pointers, he's getting you points, he's getting you assists, he's getting you steals. I mean, he's more than just a streamer to me right now. He's definitely an add and ride that wave as long as Irving is out. But definitely stream. I mean, he only has 3 games this week, but he's producing top flight numbers right now. And then 5th on my list is all of our.
You say top flight.
What's that?
You say top flight.
Top flight. Now, I say top flight a little bit loosely here, but I mean...
No, you're fine.
A guy who is unowned in so many leagues and he can just be taken off the waiver. He's producing like a guy that you drafted in like the 12th or 13th round, like a solid guy. So I would definitely look to him, but that's just me. That's just my cup of tea. I like those minutes. And then Matisse Thybulle, he is just our favorite, as long as he gets 20 minutes with Jay Rich out, he's going to get you 2 steals and 2 blocks at least, and you need those. Like, steals and blocks are incredibly valuable. So as long as Jay Rich is out and Thybulle is healthy, I know that we went over this. He has an ankle issue. Hopefully it's not too serious because they are thinking about playing him tonight. But if he sits out, he'll have a few days to rest that ankle. And then he has that valuable Tuesday and Thursday game, which are the slowest games or the slowest days in the week. So definitely give him a look if you need steals and blocks. And I don't know who doesn't need steals and blocks. So I would definitely recommend. So I'm going to chest pass the ball there to you there, Starks. Do you have any thoughts on those players? Do you want to throw a flag on any of those players that you don't really like this week? Do you agree?
So I forgot one of the listeners said, do I want to challenge one? Yeah, there's one I want to challenge. Is
Coach's
Legends
challenge.
of the Hidden. Yeah, the Coach's Challenge. Like I want to do a Legends of the Hidden Temple, Shirley Temple. Do I believe this is going to last a long time? No, but is he getting the minutes? He definitely is, Jacob. But I have to continue to eat this crow until it basically disappears. But right now, he's getting the time and he's doing it. But one thing I want to mention, though, that's bothering me and is baffling me is Chris Dunn. If you could scroll up there, LT, from what 15% own in Yahoo formats. Are you guys in 8-man leagues or something? I mean, the only reason why that I would think he's 15% owned in a Yahoo format is because you're in a very, very shallow league. Honestly, if you're in a 12 to 14-man league, he's rosterable for sure. Because as LT had mentioned and White Knight had mentioned, throughout podcast episodes, is like, he's been a top-notch steals artist, right? And he was number one, if he's not still currently now, in the league in the NBA. And you need those category stats in the steals department, right? So that's something to look at there, as LT is going to try to pull up and confirm that. But as far as Chris Dunn, just like Jacob had said, I was waiting for it. He said it. He's starting for the Bulls right now. He's getting the minutes. It's like Chicago, unfortunately, for those of Chicago fans, I do apologize to inform you, but they're potentially a wasteland team. Well, I wouldn't say potentially. They are a wasteland team, right? But Chris Dunn is starting, right? And that's the thing about the guard situation. I try to warn the people that are drafting before the season started. I would just I don't want to join into that, as LT would say, the carousel game. I didn't want to play spin the bottle with those point guards there. I just didn't want to do that. And for the steals department, looks like Chris Dunn is in second. Is that right, LT?
Yeah, Chris Dunn is in second. Ben Simmons had that huge, I think 6 or 7 steal game the other night. So that bumped him up pretty heavily. But yeah, Chris Dunn is in second right now with 45 steals. And Ben Simmons has 51. And another guy we always talk about, Harden and Van Vliet, are right behind those two.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Perfect. And then we're recording while reports are coming out. Kawhi Leonard's not on the injury report for Sunday. It's sad because any owner that has Kawhi Leonard, you're always going to be looking for reports. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? That's the load management. That's the risk you took when you were drafting him. You knew what you were getting into. At least we would hope you think, or we would hope so, right? But that's some of the dialogue that I want to say on Jacob's, a couple pickups. I'll pass you the ball there, LT, if there's any players that you want to touch up on Jacob's waiver wire streams there, brother.
Yeah, there's 2 players I want to specifically talk about, and that's Chemical Birch, Kim Birch. I like Chemical. you know me, I'm all about the big men, so I like seeing him on here.
Cheaps,
those cheap big men. You already
cheapies.
know. Hey, those cheapies. So him, I love him. I like him a little bit than Mo Bamba, but Mo Bamba is also a good option in Orlando, picking up that time for Booch. So either one of those 2 guys are pretty good. And the last guy I want to talk about, we talked about him a little bit earlier, but Furkan Korkmaz is actually, he's getting some pretty good minutes down in Philadelphia, especially with these injuries with Josh Richardson. He is a good play back there, and he gets 4 games this week. And I think he has a back-to-back, a Tuesday, and he has those, and he has a Tuesday, Thursday. That's right, a Tuesday, Thursday game. Well, he's going to get you. He's going to be playing for you during those times where there's not a lot of players going. So I really like Korkmaz streaming this week. And then also, I do like Korkmaz. Also, if Die Bully is healthy, I like him better than Korkmaz, but if not, then Korkmaz all the way. But that's all I have for that list, man. Solid list. You guys got to come here and utilize this cheat sheet. Make sure to drop a like, man. This is amazing what White Knight does. It's so hard for me to look at this and just think of me doing anything remotely close to this quality. But man, what a great way to start the week off. Definitely check this out, and I'm gonna pass the rock over to Starks.
Yeah, so my question is, as he passed me the ball, I'm going to do another pass to Jacob here, is, can you kind of give us the breakdown on what teams are going to be back-to-back this coming up week, and then we can kind of jump into players that we could potentially consider for those back-to-back days there, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you scroll up, as you already did, Tuesday and Wednesday, we got 3 back-to-back teams. Now, for the Hawks, they play Tuesday and Wednesday. I would definitely look for Damian Jones. As LT said, he loves those big men. He's very cheap right now, and he's starting. He's getting those minutes. Yeah, that's right. So if you are in need of a block or two a game, he'll probably get you solid 8 to 12 points, 8 rebounds, and that's awesome to have back to back. Now, looking at Charlotte, if you are in need of a scoring punch, I got Malik Monk back there, and I think Marvin Williams is healthy. He did have a knee issue, but he provides a little bit across the board, as well as Nicholas Batum. Now, he was over-owned in Fantrax, so he didn't make my list. But no, he did. Thank you for that. Yeah, so he is available in a lot of leagues if you need that. How do you say, LT? The
stuffed doubles burritos.
Stuffed burritos.
Yes.
Yeah. Now the Knicks as well have a back-to-back on Tuesday, Wednesday. It's tough right now to say who's going to get those for sure minutes, who is widely available, but I would still give Ntilikina a look. I would give Alfred Payton a look, even, and DSJ. I think those are players that they're going to see which of those point guards meshes well with the other starters to see who deserves the most minutes in New York. I think it's going to be a trial run here for like a week. So just, take your pick, but I would definitely trust right now. I would trust Ntilikina, if I had to. And then Wednesday, Thursday, we got the Celtics and Cavaliers. Celtics, there's not a ton of players that I can recommend that are available in a ton of leagues. I want to pass the ball to you there, Starks. Do you trust any of those Boston Celtics for those back-to-backs on Wednesday, Thursday?
If you're desperate, Brad Wanamaker, I call him the Jawanaman, I guess, but he's probably the guy that you can utilize for the back-to-back game because there's not a lot. You said it was Boston. Who was the other team that had that back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday game?
It was the Cavaliers, which for me it's tough as well, just because there's so many young mouths to feed.
Yeah, so Boston, going back to it, I think it's just Brad Wanamaker in particular. If you need the big, I think, was it not the thesis, not him, but
Robert Williams.
Robert Williams, thank you. Yeah, Robert Williams could be a potential guy if you need the sneaky blocks that might get lucky to get the minutes first. I mean, he won't get the lucky blocks. It's just, is he going to get the lucky minutes, right, in Boston? So he would be a good option for those that are desperate for blocks for that week. Oh, I mean, that's definitely a nice... honestly, that would be really validated for you to have because blocks is not an easy category to get. And if you're going to get those back-to-back games, you might get lucky and get 20 minutes total from him. And I think that's just being nice. He should get 20 minutes together. I'm not saying in each game, but I'm just combining that Wednesday and Thursday, but 20 plus minutes. So that could be really valuable to have a block or two. And that's just a minimum. I think he can get maybe potentially 3. So, so for the next couple of games there, is there any other recommendations for the back-to-back days, or is that pretty much the ones that the meat and potatoes you think there, Jacob?
On the Cleveland Cavaliers, it's tough for me to recommend any as a streamer because a lot of those players are owned in a lot of Fantrax leagues. So I can't recommend.
Oh, I got one.
Osman. I can't recommend a Darius Garland, and I can't recommend Jordan Clarkson, but those are all solid players that you can target, like in Yahoo leagues and ESPN leagues. They're widely available for those back-to-back games. Now, if we wanted to switch to Thursday and Friday, the Sixers, we already talked about it. Ty Bully, like Ty Bull and Korkmaz. They make for great streamers on Thursday, Friday. Then there's a ton of teams that play Friday, Saturday, which you can definitely look over the streamers list, like Chris Dunn. Daniel House Jr., he seems to be under-owned right now, but you definitely want to get him back on your squad if he is floating out there. And then the Grizzlies, it's the usual culprits. Oh, the Grizzlies. I wanted to talk about the point guard situation. Thank you, LT. As he just highlighted Tyus Jones. I said this in the article yesterday, even before Tyus Jones outplayed DeAnthony Melton. Now, the previous 2 games, DeAnthony Melton has been outproducing Tyus Jones, and like Stark said, he even started the second half in the second game where Morant was out. So that was very interesting. Now, last night, Tyus Jones was the more productive player. So For me, I trust Tyus Jones over Melton because I will always trust the guy who's starting. And the Grizzlies paid Tyus Jones to come and to be their backup, and he's getting you solid point guard stats. I think he's averaging like 8 points, 6 assists, a steal. Like he's getting the job done. So he is definitely another point guard you want to look at if you are in need of those point guard stats. DeAnthony Melton does get you some more steals, and he has a chance to overtake Jones in the middle of the game. But for me, I'm not about taking those chances when I'm streaming. I am about those bankable players that I know are going to get those minutes, and that's Tyus Jones. So I give the nod to Jones, but definitely be on the lookout for Melton, just in case he does get some more run or he plays next to Jones while Ja is out. But it does seem like Ja is nearing a return. I'm not sure if it's going to be this week or next week, but definitely keep your eyes open on that. Do any of you, LT or Starks, do you guys know when Ja Morant is supposed to come back? Is it going to be this week? Is it going to be soon?
It's still, from what it appears, I keep saying, from what I remember, I believe it's still week to week. Mm-hmm. So it's not really official timetable unless LT, did you know by chance?
No, I'm showing the everybody here that he did go through some practice this past Saturday. So I would think so I'm thinking it's probably going to be another week. They're going to be, that's their future point guard, right? They're going to be pretty safe with him. So I say probably next week, a week and a half. I think more for Morant, but definitely for this. Exactly, he slipped in there, right? But definitely for this week, Tyus and what's it, Melton Pot is who you want to be looking for.
Yeah. What's weird is that the Grizzlies were already low. They're already load managing Ja Morant. Like before that, like giving him some games off. And as the Grizzlies lose more and more, what's the point of playing your star and prized possession point guard? So that's a little bit scary for Ja owners. I'm sure that they'll get him back, but if he tweaks something again, don't be surprised if they shut him down for even longer, just to make sure that he's right. Just because this season is lost, this is just like a developing season for the Grizzlies, of course. So definitely keep your eye out on that. I'm gonna pass the rock to you there, Starks. Do you agree with that? Do you want to transition into something else? What do you think?
No, that sounds good. Before we transition, because I want to ask you about who we should be thinking about for those that play in points leagues of consideration. I want to pass the ball to LT real quick. Is there any other guys you want to talk about on the streaming list to the listeners at all there, LT?
No, everyone looks so, especially in the, I know White Knight has a specific top 10 widely available points league streamers. Just want to let you know. So if you're in a points league, he's got a list for you guys too. What a man, by the way, to get that list out for you guys as well. Yeah, man, this is great. But yeah, I love these points leagues. These guys are great. I hate seeing Chetty Osman at 4 only because me and Starks know why. Being Chetty is he has the potential, right? And he just always seems to go back to below normalcy. But yeah, this list is solid by the teams I'm looking at. He has a lot of Cleveland Cavaliers with those games in there, and my guy Burks, Alec Baldwin. Yep, he's in there. He's doing his thing. So, no, I have nothing else to say to that, Starks. I'll pass over to White Knight if you want to touch on anyone specific on that Points League streamer list.
Yeah, so I know it's tough, like as in a points league, though, Cedi Osman, before this last dud of a game, I think he only got like 19 minutes, but it was an absolute blowout. Oh, my goodness. They got
that Sixers game.
Oh yeah,
my gosh.
Blown out. So he was only able to get 19 minutes. Every Cavalier struggled. But before that, though, Osman was actually balling out and he was producing. And so is Garland. And Garland said recently that the game is slowing down for him, and you always love to hear that as a fantasy owner or as a Cleveland Cavalier fan. You love to hear that because sometimes the game is just too fast for a young player, and we saw that early with Garland. like we all expected him just because he was named the starter. We expected him to just automatically produce, and he wasn't doing that. But now he's actually producing, which is great. And then boring, old, reliable Cody Zeller. Hornets love him for some reason. I'm not sure if they're showcasing him or if they just love him. But he's getting the minutes right off the gate from his injury. He's producing, so he's definitely worth a streaming consideration, if not just an ad and ride him while the Hornets are playing him, and starting him. So other than that, one of my top pickups was Moritz Wagner. He is starting right now. A follower asked me on Twitter when I suggested Wagner as a top streamer. He said, "What about Davis? What about Davis Bertans?" And I said, he's owned in way too many leagues for me to recommend him as a streamer, but I would definitely trust him over Wagner, just because whether Davis Bertans is starting or coming off the bench, he's getting 35 to 40 minutes. Wagner on his best day is maybe getting 30 minutes. So I would definitely take the guy with getting more minutes and who is producing. So with that, Starks, do you have any thoughts on the Wizards situation? Do you have any thoughts on Wagner, Troy Brown? Should we be giving up on him?
Yeah. So in the redraft league, I can understand cutting bait on him in like a 12-man league. I can understand a dynasty format. I'm still going to hold tight on Troy Brown in particular. So, that's my thoughts on there, but I want to kind of speed the offense up a little bit here on a couple of players in the waiver wire pickups that you had also. It's kind of funny. LT's boy Culver's ice cream, Culver, it looks like he continues to start there in Minnesota. So that needs to be, if he's available in leagues, and which maybe he's not, but he's a speculative ad, right? Yeah. And then honestly, it's funny, LT, we've talked about this for like a couple of years, but like now I was watching the game and Rajon Rondo, man,
dude,
he hit 2 snipes. Did you?
I saw that, dude. I don't.
Did you see that?
Yes, 2.
Oh my God!
Like
back to back.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to dwell on that too much. That was gut wrenching because obviously it was against Portland, right? It was when you were talking about it.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool, man. It's cool. It's cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, but no, Ray John was he was going in on. I forgot it was Portland, but I just remember him hitting back-to-back snaps. I'm like, wait a minute, like that's who you are, Rondo. Like I know you would hit occasional threes, but you're just like coming out here hitting back-to-backs. But anyway, he's definitely a guy you got to take. Now I think he did get injured here recently, but he is a guy that still gives you those nice assists, and whether he's coming off the bench or not, he's going to give you valuable stats, especially in a points league. So honestly, he needs to be more highly owned in leagues in particular. But that's one of my cases there. I wanted to say we're going to kind of transition. Before we do to transition to the clutch shot in a dynasty guy, because we're starting to run on time, is Frank the Tank Kaminsky, as Jacob has had in his articles as well on this in particular. Norman Powell, man. He still continues as Jacob has in his article. He's still getting minutes, even with Kyle Lowry being back. So that's something to really pay attention to in Toronto. And as LT the Sage, he puts his sage eyes out on teams that's giving those tight rotation minutes to those players. So Norman Powell, regardless of Kyle Lowry coming back, he's still getting the minutes. So, that's something that we want to look at. And then honestly, before we get to the clutch shots, if you want to just highlight on the top 100 and how you were going about that, Jacob.
Yeah. So you always want to ride the wave, like if you are not streaming and you want to just pick up a player that's owned, that is unowned in a lot of leagues, and just ride the wave as this player's producing. I added a section of players producing in the top 100 over week 7. And surprisingly, the number 1 player was Justin Holiday, but he's getting the job done. Right. Yeah. I mean, like he's getting minutes, he's getting the threes, and he's getting the steals. And as we all know, in a 9-cat league, they love those stats because it's rare. threes or like if you can hit threes and steal the ball, that's great. Markelle Fultz, he came in at 2, and Fultz has been just a new man this year. He has the keys to the offense. So if you need a point guard for now and the future, give Fultz a look, because he doesn't have any competition for minutes. It's his team now. And then surprisingly, Alex Len has been getting some run here. Yeah. Like, so ride him while he's hot, because any second now he can go from this to, like downwards. So definitely ride him while he's hot. And a few players I will just mention quickly is Terrence Ross. He's getting minutes. Now, I did say Belitza. How do you say his name? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's tough. Belitza.
Yeah, I mean,
there it is.
Thank you. Yeah. He's producing right now, but any day now, it's going to take a nosedive with Bagley returning. But until then, keep riding him. And then there's George Hill. There's Langston Galloway. There's Willie Cauley-Stein. There's Ken Birch, who, like all he does is block, and Alec Burks. So if you want to look at that section on the article to help you ride that wave, go ahead and give that a look for sure.
I'm going to steal the ball too on that, Jacob. Like, listen, that top 100, that is straight gold, man. I'm glad that you came up with that idea, because honestly, to the listeners, man, this is honestly a cheat code that you can utilize, especially if they were given top 100. And this was the prior week. So you could utilize this for your advantage if you check out newlifefantasy.com. We'll kind of transition to the commercial here and then get to the clutch shots. But going to newlifefantasy.com, make sure that you guys join the mailing list. Also, subscribe to the email, because when you do that, anytime an article is released, you'll be notified via text message or via email. And also, we're running a listener league here. So if you're interested to get into the league, reach out to any of us, right? And we might do it. And again, that might be the last league that I do. So this is the love for the listeners, and we are moving at a fast pace here, and we appreciate the listeners. And also the YouTube channel that LT the Sage is putting the hard work in. He's getting more updates to the system. He's putting in a lot of hard work. Make sure you guys Sub-Zero, subscribe that button there. Hit the bell. It's dinner time. Comment below. And then also make sure you give us a thumbs up. It helps us out to continue to let this brand grow on a consistent basis, right? And then honestly, obviously the Take a Ride podcast, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do it. And honestly, let a friend know. I know you're competitive like we are, but it'll make you better as a competitor in your league if someone knows the content that we're doing. It helps us out still, so we appreciate that. So with that said, I'll get into the clutch shot, and it's going to be more of, I guess I'll juice the orange in a dynasty format. It's here. I'm going to juice that orange hard.
Got the orange.
So the guy that I'm going to juice the orange up on is a player that I've mentioned probably before the season started. And I know a lot of people were like, oh, go ahead and drop him. I kept saying, I don't know if I'm going to do it, but if you're in a situation that you're desperate and you need wins, I can understand it. But here's the guy that I want to talk about. Is LT always familiar when I say Orochimaru? It's Rui Hachimura. And the thing is about him, and again, hooked on phonics guys, I probably said his name wrong. That's probably why I call him Orochimaru. But listen, this guy has been doing a little bit better the last couple weeks. The last 2 weeks, recently, he's been inside the top 75, right? And the thing is, I kept saying he's a Rudy Gay-esque type of player. He's not going to give you the hustle stats. He's not going to give you those steals. He's not going to give you no blocks. But what you are going to get from him is you're going to get some points, some cheap rebounds from him. So he looks like right now in the last 2 weeks, from what I remember here, he was like a 16-6. So he was like 16 points, 6 rebounds, right? Juicing that orange. And as I'm juicing that orange, I'm thinking he's got the field goal percentage to back him up right now. And the free throw percentage is not sustainable, but he's shooting like 90% at the last 2 weeks plus, right? And even last week, I think he's been 100%. Juicing that orange hard about Rui Hachimura. And the thing is about Washington, as they're a wasteland team, one thing you got to also think and take in consideration, right, is because they're looking for someone to formulate. We know Thomas Bryant is hurt. Who else is going to step up? It's got to be Rui, right? So in the dynasty format, I'm going to try to poach a GM before it's too late, because honestly, he could be a 20. I can envision him as a 20-point scorer, maybe an 8 to 9 rebound type of player in the future in the NBA. And I know that might not be a popular opinion, but listen, he is playing a lot better recently now. And I think right now he's a top 120-ish type player. That's kind of what I had him pegged this year, about 125 player out the gates, because he got the starting position for this season, right? And I think he's been like a top 61 the last week. So the thing about him is, as I continue to juice this orange, is Thomas Bryant. Again, hopefully that Thomas Bryant and him can coincide with one another. Washington needs the point scoring. Bradley Beal cannot do everything himself, right? So that's something to think in mind. And hopefully as time progresses on, he could be a nice fantasy contributor on your team. Although the points and rebounds, I call those type of guys like meat and potatoes guys, but some of those meat and potato guys can help you. And honestly, in a points format, this is more beneficial for you guys. So I'll pass you the ball there, Jacob, if you have a clutch shot for the listeners here, there, brother.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you very much. Yeah. So for my clutch shot, I wanted to talk about the Colorado Buffaloes. Their basketball team is ranked number 20 in the nation. And, yep, they had a tough task this week, though. They had to go to the Allen Fieldhouse and face the number 2 Jayhawks. Unfortunately, they came away losers. They got their first loss of the year. But there is a gentleman on the Jayhawks team, and if you can type in his name for me, LT, his name is, my apologies, his last name is AGBA. If you want to type that in for me, brother. There is a guy on the Jayhawks that you definitely want to have on your radar as you go into your Dynasty draft. Yep, there he is. His name is, I believe you pronounce it Agbaji, but he is a menace on the court. He was getting after it. Like he had 3 blocks, he had a steal, he had 6 boards and 12 points, and he was 6 for 7. Now his free throws were terrible, but I mean, like he's already projected to go in the top 15. And so for all of you, see, his height is he's 6'5" and he's blocking shots. So he kind of, he just has the look of a future stud, so I would definitely keep an eye on him for all of you guys looking for your Dynasty drafts here. And if you draft early, I would definitely give him a look late in your drafts. He looks great. So I just want to juice the orange on that gentleman right here, Agbaji from the Kansas Jayhawks, and definitely look out for him as when we get to the NCAA tournament for sure. So that is my clutch shot. Hopefully the Buffs can overcome that tough loss and just keep rolling. Let's go Buffs.
Nice. LT, do you have a clutch shot there, brother? Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. My clutch shot is simple. I don't have much on the team aspect. Both of my teams are doing awful right now, so keep it up. The Bengals. I'm scared to even. The Bengals and the Blazers. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and just talk about the stream because that's what we're doing here at New Life Fantasy. And I wanted to talk about live streaming, and wanted to just throw another question out to you listeners. I'll try to have Starks put up a poll on his, but Facebook Live or YouTube Live. Those are the 2 options we're at right now to kind of do a live stream of one of our, where we can maybe take live interactions, take a stroll through all of our fantasy teams, have you guys look at it, maybe pick our brains a little bit. I would love to do that. I know these guys would love to do that too. So just let us know what you would prefer if you have access to Facebook. We know Starks doesn't like Facebook specifically, so he would probably be a YouTube. He probably would be a YouTube guy. So yeah, if you prefer Facebook Live, let me know, or if you prefer YouTube Live, let us know, and that way we can kind of eye in on a specific place of where to put our content. So other than that, I appreciate you guys.
Nice. And one more thing before I kind of close up shop. Looks like Kevin Herter is going to start Sunday whenever you guys listen to this. But the next episode in particular, I'm looking in the future. I don't know if I said this already, but we're going to talk about, how to kind of negotiate trades. And I know people are like, oh, well, you must be in a taco league, or because you can take people for rides, or trades come easy. And like, no, there's a lot of ways of doing trades, right? You don't have to take someone for a ride. I mean, if you do, it's good. But honestly, if you do that, just know that you're going to become a villain. Unfortunately, LT knows about that.
Yeah.
But I'll say this. I'll say this, though, in particular, the next episode, but that's going to be about episode 150. But tomorrow's episode, what I'd like to do for the listeners, because I think there was a listener that reached out and asked, like, is there a way that you guys can have a section on kind of like digging yourself out of a grave? And what I mean by that is, like, if you're losing in the standings, how can I improve my team? What am I doing wrong? And I think all three of us will find out ways to help you guys and expand on how to improve your team if you're at the bottom, because I think that is important. I know there's individuals that are almost like, man, I can't take this. And then honestly, when you can't take it, you kind of just stop starting your players in formats, and it's like you're giving up. So we're going to help you guys to get out of that mindset and just kind of grind it out, because one thing, here's your cheat code. It's not even a cheat code, but the thing is, you're not the only person with injuries, so you have to make sure that you remember that. So you guys can follow me on my Twitter handle. It's @Starks_industry. You can also find me on Instagram, One Closing Hero. Give me a follow, ask me a question, and I'll get back to you at a prompt time. I'll pass you the ball there. Jacob, where can they find you out there, brother?
Thank you, brother. You can find me on Twitter @Ain'tDoneYet, and done is spelled DUNNE. I just want to say I appreciate all the love, all the questions that I've been getting, and all the followers. I hope all of you out there who do have a Twitter, that can follow me, and you can ask me questions, and I'd love to answer you guys. God bless you, and I hope you have a great week.
LT, where can I find you out there, brother?
Thank you. You can find me at IG @_SageNetwork_. You can also find me at Twitter @SageNetworkX. All the love. We appreciate all the love. Questions, follow, and let us know what we can do better as always. But I love you guys, and switch it over to Starks.
Nice. Love you guys. God bless you. With that being said, have a good evening, morning, afternoon, and take a ride.